Boxing King Media in association with Boxro. Finally made it to Eddie Hearn's office. I don't know how I managed to blag it, but I made it.
Yeah, well done. Well, we've got the barbecue today. It was so hot out there, I thought, let's do a few in here. So, Boxing King Media, welcome to the office, and looking forward to a blessed day today.
Definitely so. One of the first things I would ask you, Eddie, is I was reading your Men's Health magazine this morning where you talked about your sleep patterns and the addiction to the job and being on your phone all the time. I can kind of relate to that a little bit. You've sacrificed sleep. Have you sacrificed other things as well? You know, just like friends, family time, all that sort of stuff? Because a lot of people don't realise that, do they?
I think if you want to be successful, you have to make sacrifices in that respect. You can't live a normal life and just expect to, you know, you got a t-shirt on, our friends at Boxro, says chasing greatness. If you want to chase greatness, you have to make sacrifices that aren't quite normal. And you also have to be really selfish. Like, you have to be a selfish person. And when I do my podcast and stuff like that, the more I speak to successful people in their field, mainly sports people, you realise how selfish their lives are. Doesn't mean they're bad people, but it's a focus and just a tunnel vision of where you want to get to, and nothing will allow that to get in the way. So, you know, for me, a sacrifice might be missing my daughter's 10th birthday, right? A horrible thing to do, but it was the same night as AJ Usyk in Saudi. And you know, and someone, a normal person might say, was that a difficult choice? And I hope she's not watching this, but no, it wasn't, because that's what I do, and that's all I know at the same time. So, you know, I think whatever you do, you lose friendships, you lose the opportunity to socialise, you lose the opportunity to sleep, sometimes a good night's work, you know, you batter your body. And sometimes, like what I do, it's not overly physical. It's not like I'm, you know, mine, pulling things up and, you know, but from a mental point of view, it is draining, travelling around. And people always say, what, on a plane, laying down on a plane? It's like, no, not really. You know, 11 hours on a plane, get there, work an 8-hour day, go out for dinner, get back on a plane, on a red eye, land at 6 o'clock in the morning, go back straight back. So it's just draining. So you need, one of the reasons, talk about mental health, that's one of the reasons this whole fitness thing is just, I'm trying to give myself the ability to do more and do it better by looking after myself and basically having a better engine. But sleep is one of the many sacrifices, and it's something that I never really master.
Do you ever wonder, what am I doing it for? Because obviously, ultimately doing it to build a successful empire for the boxing fans, and sometimes you're obviously reading a lot of shit about yourself online. Do you ever wonder, is it worth even doing this for all these people? Because ultimately, that's what you're doing it for, aren't you?
I think you do it because it's in here. You know, that's why I do it, because I love what I do. This morning, I signed a kid in here who was 18, and I'm so excited. You know, like that for me is just as exciting as, you know, a world title fight at Wembley. To see a young kid that we met in here, take him to area, British, Commonwealth, European, hopefully World Championship. So I love boxing more than anything. Do I love the business? Do I love the shit that comes with it? No, not really. But at the same time, I do love the game. I do love the hustle. I can't pretend that I don't, in a sick way. But if I didn't love what I did, I wouldn't do it, you know. But I'm a competitor, and I love to win. And sometimes it does become a little bit personal, but that's good because it needs to be. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't mean, you know, you have to be angry and you have to have your blood pressure exploding all the time. But I want to win. I feel I'm the best at what I do, and I want to be the best at what I do, and I want to reign for as long as possible. So, yeah, each to their own. Everyone's different. You know, I realised a long time ago that just because you don't want to be successful in your career doesn't mean you can't be successful in life, and doesn't mean you can't live a great life. You might be happier than me. But I used to think that someone that was in a 9 to 5, that would clock in at 9 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock would go, oh, I'm done, would go home, would never think about work, would never think about their career, but would go to the pub with her mates and maybe play football over the park with her kids. Oh, yeah, but nothing against them, but they haven't really got it, have they? Yeah, they might have it. They might have it more than you, you know? So success is an individual interpretation of where you are in your life. And for me, success is actually waking up in the morning excited and with a spring in your step and with a smile on your face and a buzz. And that's what I still have from this sport, business. So whilst that remains, I'll stay. And when it goes, I'll go. I'll always be in boxing. I thought this the other day when we reopened the Lynn. I'll always be in boxing. Grassroots, maybe even representing fighters, young fighters. But the business of boxing is something that I'll definitely not be in forever. Interesting
thoughts. We're here for the main event. You're announcing today Jordan Thompson, Opetai. A fight that nobody really saw coming. It's come out of the blue for Jordan Thompson. So I want to ask you initially, is the timing right? Because obviously experience-wise, he's not really fought even at fringe world level.
No, I was just thinking that. I just actually went to the toilet before this interview. And as I was standing there having a leak, I thought to myself, I can't actually believe Jordan Thompson's fighting for this world title. And you know what? He can win. Like, he probably hasn't been built correctly over the years. He joined us, 3 fights ago. He's 6'5". He looks like he's carved out of stone. He's a handsome chap, and he punches like a mule. You win, you become a star, but you've never boxed anywhere. I mean, Jai Opetai has just beaten Maris Bradis. He's become the Ring Magazine Cruiserweight World Champion. But when you can fight and you can punch, you're always in the fight. But this Opetai is an animal. He broke his jaw in 2 places against Maris Bradis in the 3rd round and fought the whole fight an absolute war and won. So, listen, it's a massive opportunity for a British fighter to become the #1 cruiserweight in the world. And sometimes life just presents itself like that. Sometimes God's got a plan for you that you never even knew. And maybe this is the time for Jordan Thompson.
And on the undercard, you've got 4 females fighting. Just kind of run us through that, and you've already matched them all up as well.
Yeah, so Ellie Scottney defending her world title against Laura Griff. It's her last fight before unifications. Chev Clark's in a great fight against Vasil Dukar, who obviously we saw Jordan Thompson come through recently. Shannon Ryan as well on the card. Jimmy Sains will make his debut, one of the best amateurs in the country, sold a huge amount of tickets. George Liddard, Shannon Ryan, Maisie Rose, Ibrahim Suleiman, who we saw sell so many tickets in Birmingham as well. I think I've got everyone there. It's a good night of boxing, and you know, it's the best fighter in the division coming to the UK to defend his world championship. So looking forward to a great night.
I want to emphasise how important it is that fans support boxers. You said Jimmy sold 500 tickets, and I know not all fighters do that. Just because a lot of fans aren't aware of the cuts that are made, that have gone out of their purses. Could you explain, if I use a round figure, say 100k, a fighter's getting paid 100k, let's run through promoter, management, trainer, fees, just so somebody can understand what they actually end up with.
Sure, good question. So on a fight like this, a fighter would receive his purse. When we own the show, like 95% of shows, we don't take a percentage off that purse. His purse is his purse. His deductions will come from his own team. So trainer, manager, cut man, strength and conditionist, etc. A lot of those costs come in camp as well. But ticket sales are important. We give an industry norm. You get 10% of every ticket that you sell. It's like a motivation, encouragement for the fighter to sell more tickets. So someone like a Jimmy Sains, who's already sold 500 and will probably sell 800, if you're looking at an average ticket price of 50 quid, and it's probably more, will sell 40 grand's worth of tickets. Probably will sell 50 grand's worth of tickets. That's an extra 5 grand for Jimmy Sains. And in some occasions, you might double your purse from the tickets you sell. But more importantly, as a fighter, what they have to understand is, it helps you get up later on the card. If Jimmy Sains sells 800 tickets, I've got to put him on the TV card, right? And also, if you're in the arena that night and you see, look at Johnny Fisher, same kind of thing. All of a sudden you start looking around going, wow, what is going on? All of a sudden you get momentum. People are talking about you. And so it's not easy to become a ticket seller. And some people are a ticket seller by luck. Johnny Fisher, I think, same thing, just a good guy who people like. Everyone knows his old man in the area. Next thing, you're selling tickets. And that's the same with Jimmy. You know, the great story about Jimmy Sains is, his dad, say we weren't close mates, but we were mates, we knew each other, but we all knew all of each other's friends. He's from Hornchurch, I'm from Brentwood. You know, his best mates, Tom Sweeney, Luke Sweeney, who makes my suits, and that's how Essex works. So with Jimmy Sains, you've got all his mates from Repton and from Essex, and then you've got the old school Essex lot, which is me. now. Receding hairline, used to wear skin-tight trousers, Gucci loafers, no socks. And Chrissy, who is his dad, was the same. And when I had him in the office the other day, I knew Chris Sains, his dad, before he had Jimmy. And I'm thinking, I can't believe, what has happened to our life where I'm now promoting your son? We used to go out. He used to have a club called Pangaea in the West End. We were on fire back in our early 20s. Now look at us. Now we're parents, and I'm signing your son. But I just know when I see someone like that, I know they're all going to come out because that's what they do. So, you know, Ibrahim Suleiman, another good example, you know, managed by JK, sold 600 tickets in Birmingham. All of a sudden, JK phones me up and says, hey, we done well for you. Stick us on the London show. We'll do another 200 or 300. You're in. And you get opportunities when you're a ticket seller. For us, you have to have talent to get signed in the first place. But I'll tell you what, when you're shifting tickets, you get a lot more activity, you get a lot more exposure, and you fight a lot later on in the night.
Thank you for clarifying that. But, you know, just the last bit of that, you know, I was trying to use it, because I want fans to understand this. So if a fighter was getting paid 100k, am I right in saying they'd probably walk away with 50, 60k after? Because people have got this assumption fighters are earning millions.
Yeah, it depends on their deal. And, you know, a trainer might be on 10%, could sometimes be on 15%. A manager could be on 10 or 15%. Sometimes it's the same person and they're charging 20%. So I think you probably look at between 20 and 30% deductions for your team, depending on who you're working with. And, you know, there's some good managers, there's some bad managers, just like there's some good promoters, there's some bad promoters. And it's up to you to choose your team wisely. But, you know, as a fighter gets bigger, sometimes you do a deal. So if you're making 20, 30 million a fight, sometimes you're not giving your trainer 10%. You're giving him a fee. You know, the one thing I say about trainers, sometimes they get a little bit of a raw deal when the fighter starts making big money, because what happens is the boxer looks at the trainer and goes, you know, say all of a sudden you're making 3 million for your fight and you're giving your trainer 300 grand, right? And the fighter goes, 300 grand? That's a lot of money. And the ones that aren't quite pure and the ones that aren't that loyal, a lot of them think like that. I like to look at it like this. Do you remember when you were getting 5 grand a fight and he was training you for 12 weeks for 500 quid for 3 years? Good luck to him. Do you know what I mean? But that's just the cutthroat business of boxing. And sometimes when fighters start earning that level of money, they say, well, instead of giving you 300 grand for the fight, I think 150 is the right money. And the trainer might go, all right, 150 and we'll sign an extension, or, you know, that's my fee per fight. So, yeah, many ways to skin a cat.
Definitely so. I want to speak to you about some other matters. I spoke to Shane Fury yesterday, and he specifically said that he's got inside information that the Joshua Wilder fight is off, it's not on the table anymore, and he kind of suggested that Skills Challenge are not going to put the money up anymore because there's a new player in town. Obviously the guys that are putting Fury and Ngannou on, and they've got control of the boxing in Saudi, so I'm sure you've seen that, you know, your response to that. Yeah,
I mean, firstly, obviously Prince Khalid, Skills Challenge, you know, been great partners to us and friends. I don't know the political situation. Obviously Shane Fury is working with the new entity, so he's going to be supportive of that, and I'm sure we'll work with that new entity as well. They do a great job. Saw yesterday, they throw a lot of money in these things. It's, you know, it really makes some noise. For us, we've agreed terms for Joshua Wilder, but until we receive a contract, the fight's not happening. Obviously, politically, it sounds like there's a lot going on, but for us, we're ready to take that fight. Shelley Finkel and I have spoken. They're ready to take that fight. Everybody's agreed the terms, but until the money's put in place, the fight's not happening. Now, it doesn't just have to happen in Saudi Arabia. There are now other talks about other countries that could take part in. So, yeah, regarding the comments, I think there's some truth to it, that there is a political movement of, not even political, but just a movement of management and ownership of boxing in Saudi, and it's up to them what they want to do. If they don't want to do Joshua Wilder, maybe it goes somewhere else, but it's one of the biggest fights in heavyweight boxing. We're being told they do, but, you know, I said before, I wouldn't even be surprised if Joshua fights Fury. You know, I mean, it's really interesting listening to, it's quite funny, because I've ended up watching Fury on Netflix, right, which I actually thought was really good, and, you know, you can't actually help but like, you know, the family, and, you know, and we know he says this and he says that, but actually when you watch that, you realise that, you know, they're likeable people. Regarding the boxing chat, you know, yesterday I noticed a lot of I'm not interested in Usyk. He lost. He got knocked out by Dubois. He's useless. Joshua's a gym sweeper. Never fighting him. Got no interest. I'm only interested in the big boys. Well, who's the big boys? If you're not interested in Joshua and Usyk, and you've already boxed Wilder 3 times, who are you talking about? What, just exhibitions? So, for me, the biggest boxing fight for Tyson Fury is Anthony Joshua. Now, the Usyk fight delivers undisputed, if he even cares about that. I saw another quote from him saying he doesn't care about that, he's never mentioned it, he's not interested. So, you never know what he, you know, if he's telling the truth, if he's just acting up, whatever. But for me, the biggest fight for us and the biggest fight for him is Tyson Fury. So I don't know how Saudi's strategy is going to sit. Do they want to make Fury Usyk and Joshua Wilder still? Do they want to make Fury against AJ? I don't know. We're up for all of those fights. But if we don't get that sorted soon, you'll probably see AJ fight in December at a level above where he's been fighting because he wants to stay active. So that's all I can tell you, really. And I've kept everybody up to speed. You know, I love people that say, oh, Eddie Hearn made it up about Wilder, that fight's not happening. No, we've agreed terms for that fight. We're happy with the offer, but there has been a change of movement in the region, and we'll wait to see what the offers are.
Could you not just make AJ Wilder yourself? Because
Yeah,
potentially worldwide that does big pay-per-view numbers.
Look, the money obviously is bigger there, but we've also had approaches now from other countries that want to stage that fight. We can also do that fight at Wembley. We can also do that fight in America. But it's just timing, really. It's frustrating because we've been waiting and waiting. We've been patient for them, and we've agreed everything. But now it's slow, and it's slow for the reasons that we just discussed.
And if AJ takes another fight in between, could you give us a list and maybe drop 5 names that you're looking at?
I mean, Filip Hrgović, Andy Ruiz, I don't know. I mean, you know, it needs to be a step up, but it will probably take place outside of the UK. He's just boxed 2 fights at the O2 in 3 months, 4 months. There's no guarantee he'll fight in December, and we still want to make the Wilder fight. I mean, I've already reached out to Saudi Arabia to say, look, whoever's moving boxing forward, we've agreed this and we're ready. So if you want to do that, fine. If not, no problem. We'll look at the Fury fight, or we'll do our own fight, or we'll box somewhere else. But we're not going to be short of offers for venues to fight. But that is the fight we want. And honestly, that was the one we hope still happens.
Just moving on, a couple of other things. VADA, obviously we've seen a lot of interviews in the last week from yourself and Frank, you know, pushing the VADA objective. I just wanted to ask, obviously the 4 or 5 fighters that they've tested positive in the last 12 months, obviously we've got Conor Ben White, Helenius, Alicia Baumgardner. 4 out of the 5, to my knowledge, are all rejecting the positive test. Obviously, Conor's suggested early on that there might be issues in the lab, and obviously the other fighters are rejecting it. So, and then also there's this issue of who can punish the fighters. So is it really worth paying VADA all that money when no one seems to be accepting the findings?
Yeah, I think it's a weak argument to say no one's dealing with it, so we shouldn't bother.
I mean, could we not put that money to UCAD? Could they not get that funding too?
Possibly, but they can't test international fighters in the same way. So one of the problems with UCAD is they're under-resourced and they're not testing enough. I'm being told that Chris Eubank got tested once in camp, and that was just a couple of days before the fight. If that is true, that is absolutely scandalous, right? But they're not testing international fighters abroad. So, and they're not testing enough. So when people say, it's not one or the other, by the way, we're not saying UCAD should stop. We're just saying we want to increase the testing volume to make the sport safer. Your point is right, and it's a frustrating one, whereby once the test is positive, who actually deals with it? So we need to make sure that the commissions do deal with it. A good example is the Joe Cusimano failed test. That was a New York State Athletic Commission random test. We've got nothing to do with it. Took a little bit long time because obviously they probably don't pay the same money to get the speed of the results. But we received an email to say, just to let you know, Joe Cusimano has had an adverse finding. We're dealing with it. There's this hearing on this date. These are the likely outcomes. We'll let you know. I thought, perfect. That's all we're asking for. You know, Alicia Baumgardner now will be wanting to go to war with her defence. But who to? Do you know what I mean? And it kind of puts a bit of a mockery on if things aren't dealt with. We can't deal with the disciplinary process of a failed drugs test. What we can do is make sure that we pay to go through that process to see if a fighter has failed a test or not. So it's the only situation where we're actually investing money trying to make the sport safer, but still getting criticism, not from you, but just, oh, well, actually, it's like, well, what do you want to do then? Not bother. It's like Simon Jordan said the other day. Oh, I wouldn't have VADA as well as UCAD. Just UCAD's enough. What, one test in a 12-week camp? How dangerous that is.
Could they not just be quoting you, say they might charge you a figure to do international testing where they pay for people to fly across and do the tests? That way they can obviously punish the fighters and deal with it.
Yeah, I don't think UCAD are set up for that. I think VADA is definitely the body who tests frequently on an international level to do the job. I think you've got a point about investing more money in UCAD to do the job in this country. One thing is for sure, UCAD need to test more. You know, you saw Dave Allen the other day. Hasn't been tested for God knows how long. Never got tested the whole camp. Didn't get tested fight night. That's and Dave, I'm sure would never take it. But I had a really good chat last night with someone from the Team GB team. There is a real concern about fighter, not knowledge, but just knowing what to do and what not to do. You know, he starts talking to me about if you go down the gym, right, and say you're in a David Lloyd or an Absolute gym down the road, and me, for example, they will do my protein shake, right? So he was explaining to me that someone could say, here's my protein in a powder, can you mix that up for me? So you put it into the blender, right? You make the protein shake, you pour it out and you go, there you go, mate. They go away, they clean it, not very well, as I've seen down in my gym, and they put it back on the thing. And then I order a batch tested product from the thing. This guy's telling me that if that had something in the supplements, there's every chance that you would provide a positive test if you drank a shake. So what we actually want to do, and this was a conversation for last night, it's going a bit deep now, but we want to go one further, not just increase the volume or volatility of testing, but start educating the fighters about things that may cause a problem for them. If you get found positive, if you test positive, the reputation on your career, sometimes you cannot come back from. Like Conor Benn, who we believe is innocent, has been through his process, has won cases, there will always be people who will be saying, oh, you're this, you're that, right? So you can't afford to mess up. And just the other day, he was in here and I ordered a Starbucks from Deliveroo. Starbucks came for Conor, and I went, there you go, mate. And I gave it to him, and I thought, my God, it's like Anthony Joshua drinking the Irish stout thing. These kind of, contamination levels are the tiniest things you could ever imagine. So, yeah, it's a bit deep, but we want to go one further. We want to educate the fighters so that there aren't any mistakes,
And last thing you would have seen yesterday, Fabio Wardley and David Adeleye, the big ruckus on the red carpet. What did you make of that? And then, obviously, the presser.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really spoke to, obviously, Fabio's managed by Dillian Whyte, and I haven't spoke to Dillian Whyte or his team since the day we found out the news. So, I'd heard that they might be doing that one fight deal with Adeleye. I believe it's not for the British title, but it's still a good fight. And
is that because it's in Saudi?
Yeah. I saw the incident. I just think that I'm seeing a lot of this lately. Normally you see it in Misfits and stuff like that, and I think we just got to be a little bit careful because Misfits is different. You can say this and you can say that about someone's mum and wife, but you can't do that in boxing. I'm not saying that happened yesterday, but you can't start having people who can really fight scrapping on a red carpet, because people are going to get cut and injured, as you've seen with him, and maybe he'll be out of the fight. So, I get the hype, and listen, there'll be certain people going, well, that's great, look. And of course, I'm a hype king, but I don't want people getting cut and scrapping on a red carpet, because it's not what we should be doing. But it's a good fight. I hope he's fit to fight. I guess that's the next issue to look at. In terms of the Fury and Ngannou presser, Saudis, and as we've seen before, do things very, very well. It's a great spectacle. I get the whole event. I said before, I'm disappointed as a fight fan that we can't get to see Fury fight the best boxers, but I also understand that it's a big event. It's going to do big numbers. He wants as much money as possible. He's securing the bag.
Make much of his weight.
He's just massive, isn't he? I mean, you know. But again, when you watch At Home with the Furies, which again, I keep plugging this, but I enjoyed it. He's just a bit of a freak of nature. I mean, he looks like he couldn't go 1 round, and he could go 15 rounds. You know, and like he's a special talent, and he's a good fighter. I just hope that he can attempt to secure his legacy as the greatest of the generation. He thinks he already is, but you know, if he goes out and beats Usyk and beats AJ, like he's done it all. You can put him up there with Lennox Lewis. You can put him up there with Tyson. You could put him up there with, I never like saying Ali, but you know, someone that has beaten everybody in his generation. And all he's got to do is beat AJ and Usyk, and he's done it.
Would you change the picture behind you to Tyson Fury if he does?
What, when when AJ knocks Tyson Fury out, that's how it'll look. But I just think he's good for boxing. Ultimately, you need characters, you need personalities, and he's a star. And I wouldn't be surprised to see if I saw AJ against Fury early 2024. Who knows? But let's see him try and secure that legacy. And in the meantime, let him fight Ngannou, and it's a big event. And good luck to everyone.
This is the last one, actually. Did you watch Naseem Mohammed's son's debut? What did you make of it, and have you got any interest in signing him?
Yeah, no, I had him in here, you know, when he was talking to all the promoters. We didn't make him an offer. We looked at it. Very, very nice boy. Really nice. And once I met him in Dubai airport for the first time, we spoke for like half an hour. I think we lost our bags, and we ended up talking for a real long period of time. Very polite, hard-working young man. Very green, like no amateur experience. I mean, the opponent was, you know, I mean, I know you want an easy touch, but even he wouldn't have wanted that. Like, you got to learn something when you step through the ropes. But I wish him all the best. He's a great story, great backstory. Naz is a legend, and like I said, I hope he gets support because he's genuinely a very nice kid, and I wish him all the best.
Eddie Hearn, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Cheers.